Good day, dear students. Today I am going to talk about renewed education program, and there are two issues I would like to focus on: constructivist teaching methods and Jean Piaget's theories. Constructivist approach teaching methods are based on constructivist learning theories. Scholars such as Ernst von Glaserfeld trace the origin of this approach to the philosophies of Immanuel Kant, George Berkeley, Jean Piaget. There are those who also cite the contribution of John Dewey, such as his works and action research, which allows to construction of complex understanding of teaching and learning. Constructivist learning theory states that all knowledge is constructed from a base of prior knowledge. As such, children are not be treated as a blank slate and make sense of class material in the context of his or her current knowledge. The development of constructivist models of teaching are specifically attributed to the works of Marie Montessori, which were further developed by more recent by theories such as David Hall, Ronald Fry, among others. These theories have proposed sensory and activity-based learning methods. It was Kolb and Fry who were able to develop a methodology of experimental learning that involves concrete experience, observation, and reflection, forming abstract concepts and testing in new situations. Constructivist an approach to learning that holds that people actively construct or make their own knowledge, and that reality is determined by the experience of learners. Constructivist theory holds that learners are not passive recipients of knowledge, but also more active in the process. They build on previous experience in order to make sense of what they are learning. They are more active in creation of meaning and knowledge. This leads to a more student-centered approach in which the student guides his own learning. The constructivist method is composed of at least 5 stages: inviting ideas, exploration, proposition, explanation, solution, and taking action. The constructivist classroom also focuses on daily activities when it comes to student work. Teaching methods also emphasize communication and social skills, as well as intellectual collaboration. This is different from a traditional classroom where students primarily work alone, learning through repetition and lecture. Activities encouraged in constructivist classroom include experimentation. Students individually perform an experiment and they come together as a class to discuss the results. Research projects. Students research a topic and can present their findings to the class. Field trips. This allows students to put the concept and ideas discussed in class in real-world context. Field trips would often be followed by class discussions. Films. These provide visual context and thus bring another sense into the learning experience. Class discussions. This technique is used in all the methods described above. It's one of the most important distinctions of constructivist teaching methods. Campus wikis. These provide learners with a platform for curating helpful learning resources. Constructivist approaches can also be used in online learning. Tools such as discussion forums, wikis, and blogs can enable learners to actively construct knowledge because existing knowledge schemata are explicitly acknowledged as a starting point for new learning. Constructivist approach tend to validate individual and cultural differences. What is the principle of constructivism? The first principle is knowledge is constructed rather than innate and passively absorbed. Constructivism's central idea is that human learning is constructive, that learners build new knowledge upon the foundation of previous learning. The prior knowledge influences that new and modified knowledge an individual will construct from new learning experiences. Learning is an active process. The second notion is that learning is an active rather than the passive process. The passive view of teaching views the learner as an empty vessel to be filled with knowledge, whereas constructivism states the learner constructs meaning only through active engagement with the world. The third principle, all knowledge is socially constructed. Learning is a social activity. It's something we do together in interaction with each other rather than an abstract concept. The fourth principle is all knowledge is personal. Each individual learner has a distinctive point of view based on existing knowledge and values. This means that the same lesson, teaching, or activity may result in different learning by each pupil as their subjective interpretation differ. The fifth principle, learning exists in the mind. The constructivist theory posits that knowledge can only exist within the human mind and that it doesn't have to match any real-world reality. Learners will be constantly trying to develop their own individual mental model of the real world from their perceptions of the world. As they perceive each new experience, learners will continue to update their own mental models to reflect the information and will therefore construct their own interpretation of reality. Let's compare traditional and constructivist approaches. In traditional approach, desk in rows, teachers voice loudest, all do the same thing, teacher in front, teacher the source. Against constructivist approach, conduct chairs in circles, students talking, different activities, teacher circulates, teacher is facilitator. Traditional testing is not only one facet of constructivist assessment of student success. Assessment also consists of personal, rough interpretation of students' performance in the context of what they are out of school life. Non-traditional constructivist assessment strategies include: the first one, oral discussions. The teacher presents students with a focused question and allows an open discussion on the topic. KWLH chart. What we know, what we want to know, what we have learned, how we know it. This technique can be used throughout the course of study for a particular topic, but is also a good assessment technique as it shows the teacher the progress of the students throughout the course of study. Mind mapping. In this activity, students list and categorize the concept and ideas related to a topic. Hands-on activities. These encourage students to manipulate the environment or a particular learning tool. Teachers can use a checklist observation to assess student success with a particular material. Pre-testing. This allows a teacher to determine what knowledge students bring to a new topic and thus will be helpful in directing the course of study. And let's talk about strengths and weaknesses of constructivism. Strengths are effective to teach real-life situations, solve novel problems, problem-solving skills with multiple solutions, supports development of metacognitive skills. And weaknesses are inefficient to teach, recall of facts, memorization, a situation where there is a single way to perform, difficult to evaluate learning objectively.